Hey everyone, so today's video is going to be about Scooter's leg amputation. I posted about it in an updates video a few months ago when he had just had his surgery and was recovering. So in this video I kind of want to go over the whole recovery process because it took a really long time and it was really stressful and a lot of things happened, and during this process I tried to find some research and there wasn't really much out there dealing with a chinchilla having a major surgery like this. And the vet that I went to was a specialist in exotic pets. However, I felt as if he wasn't really a chinchilla specialist. Basically, what happened was Scooter was already an amputee. He was already missing his back leg. And when we adopted him during Christmas time of last year, he was by himself, and the person that I was watching him for basically had a situation change, so she wasn't able to keep him anymore. So since we were already watching him over Christmas break, we just decided to keep him. So we decided to upgrade his cage and also get him a little buddy, actually a big buddy, but this is her here, this is Ellie, and he was paired with her by a rescue that's about an hour away from me, and Ellie is a spayed female, so they won't be having any babies, and she actually takes up most of this video, just to let you know, because she's a camera hog. So after bringing Scooter and Ellie home from their matchmaking session at the rescue's house, we had upgraded Scooter's cage and added a bunch of wooden ledges that we bought from the rescue. And within a few days, I started noticing that Scooter's nub area from his amputated leg was starting to look a little irritated. And I did ask the rescue about it, and she kind of confirmed what I was thinking, was that he was kind of building a callus up on that area from being more active with Ellie in the cage with him and having ledges to jump on and everything like that. However, as the days went on, it started looking more and more irritated, and I was putting some ointment on it and it just did not seem to help at all. So one morning we were planning on taking him to the vet the next day so they could go ahead and take a look at the amputated leg area. However, that night during their feeding time, I noticed that it looked horrible. I don't have a picture of it because it was really, really nasty and I wouldn't want anybody else to see it, but basically some bone and tendon started sticking out of his nub area. I really don't like saying the word nub, but that's the best way to describe it. It had pretty much pushed its way out and was exposed. It was about 8 o'clock on a weekend, so I immediately took Scooter to the emergency vet that I take my rats to. And after the vet took a look at Scooter's area, he realized that he was going to have to be re-amputated higher up, closer to his knee or hip area, and explained to me that whoever had Scooter when he was a baby, when he originally had his leg problem, either did not amputate the leg and just let it fall off because it was right at his ankle area, or they didn't amputate it properly. The original story that we had gotten was that when Scooter was a tiny baby, he lived in a wire bottom cage and his foot had got stuck after falling through the wire bottom cage and basically broke his foot. And so I'm guessing that the people who had him before my friend had him, just let the foot fall off and didn't do anything about it. So the emergency vet was not able to do the amputation surgery that night and referred me to a different vet that specializes in surgeries for small animals. When the second vet examined Scooter, he said the same thing, and that he was going to need to be amputated up a little higher over his knee area. So about a day and a half later, Scooter went ahead and had his leg amputated. The surgery went really well, and he did spend the majority of the day at the vet, but we were able to pick him up that evening. So this is what it looked like the day of surgery. It looked really gnarly. The stitch line was kind of odd to me, and it was really red, but he seemed to be doing okay. He was drinking and everything, and I was given antibiotics and painkillers to give him during this process. And this is a side view, so it can give you kind of like a better idea of, where he actually had the amputation surgery. So this is him laying upside down, and as you can see here, they did take it all the way up over his kneecap area. And I guess the angle that it was, the vet had a hard time making it like a clean stitch, and it was almost like a little pocket that he had to sew up. And Scooter had to be in a hospital cage for at least 10 days during his recovery process. He was not allowed to have any kind of dust bath whatsoever. So I made him this kind of ghetto makeshift CNC cage that I did show in my other video. And it was starting to get warm at this point, so I was glad that I was able to put him on the cool tile floors to keep him cool. I did not want him overheating while he was already kind of stressed from surgery anyways. I also put the cage right beside Ellie's cage so they could kind of see each other if they wanted to. He had a house, hay, pellets, and water, and he did have some little pieces of wood to chew on, and I also was giving him probiotic cookies that I was able to get at the rescue since he was on antibiotics. There was no ledges in the cage whatsoever. He was not to be doing any kind of jumping around or anything like that. So by day 5, he was not really eating. He was drinking, but he wasn't eating, and this is what his incision looked like. At this point, he had 2 more days left of his pain medication and a few more days on his antibiotic, and I was getting worried because he wasn't eating at all. He was still hopping around and everything, but he was just not eating. And by day 7, he still was not eating. This is what his incision looked like. And I was getting really worried because chinchillas are like guinea pigs, and rabbits and even cows. They need to constantly keep their gut moving or they will end up with bloat. So I did take Scooter back to the vet. The vet wasn't really sure why he wasn't eating. He had gotten an x-ray to make sure that he didn't have any kind of stones or anything like that going on. I had also already started force feeding him with critical care about day 3. So by day 7, I was still force feeding him critical care, and it was almost 3 times a day at this point, as well as water. He stopped drinking at this point as well. He wasn't eating any hay whatsoever, so I was getting very worried. By day 11, his incision was looking a little discolored to me. It had some red splotches and some yellow splotches, and I couldn't tell if it was leading to an infection or not because it just looked like it had been kind of bruised up a little bit. So I had been in the contact with the rescue that I had gotten Ellie from that did Scooter's matchmaking, and I told her that Scooter was taking Baytril for his antibiotic. And she immediately said that the Baytril was the issue. This is why he was not eating. Baytril and chinchillas usually don't mix well, and it will cause them just not to eat. It will cause them to have gastric stasis. So he went back to the vet, and he looked at Scooter's incision and said that everything looked like it was going okay and that there didn't seem to be any sign of infection. I also told him what the rescue had said and that I did not want him on the Baytril anymore and to prescribe Scooter trimethoprim sulfa, and that seemed to do the trick. By day 14, he was looking a lot better and he started eating. I was still force feeding him critical care, but by day 16 here, I was only doing it in the morning, and then in the evening, Scooter was kind of eating and nibbling a little bit on his own. And this was, as I said, day 16. The incision started to look a lot better. He did kind of have a little yellowish coloring on his kneecap that was kind of protruding out a little bit. So I did want to make sure that when he was walking, he wasn't using it as a crutch like he was in the beginning. This is why this whole thing happened, because he was basically using his stub as a crutch. But after really looking at him, he was kind of lifting his little butt area up and just using the one leg. So by 23, it started looking like this. At this point, I also moved him back into the cage with Ellie, and this also seemed to help a lot, as well as the new antibiotic. He started really eating on his own, and I think he just really missed being with Ellie, being in his own cage, and everything like that. So he started doing a lot better around day 23, and you can definitely tell a difference in how his healing went from here on. So by day 33, he started looking like this. He was eating, drinking, hopping around, and playing on his own, eating all the hay that he needed to at this point. And by day 43, his hair really started to grow in, and I was surprised on how fast it grew. And it's almost like feathers since their hair is so dense when it's growing in. and by day 50 he had almost completely healed from his incision, and his hair is completely covering it now. It's just not as fluffy as it normally is. So at the time that I'm making this video, it has now been 8 months since Scooter's leg amputation surgery, and he is 100%. He is completely a normal chinchilla. He doesn't even know that he doesn't have his back hind leg. He is now able to hop around on ledges. I did kind of gradually put the ledges in. I would only do one at a time and do them really low to the ground because I didn't want him hopping too high. So at this point, I think I have 4 ledges in the cage, and then he also has the normal Ferret Nation ledges that a lot of people remove from their chinchilla cages and just use the ledges. But since he is considered a tripod, I went ahead and kept them. And there he is right there, and sorry the lighting is really bad when you see him since he's black, and if there's any kind of shadow, then it's really hard to see his face. So he seems to be really happy now, and I have not added a wheel to the cage, and I don't plan on doing that just in case it's a little too much for him. He thinks that he can do it, but you know, I don't want him falling or anything like that. So basically, if you guys are ever having trouble with your chinchilla while they're on Baytril, I do suggest notifying your vet and telling them that you want to try a different kind of antibiotic and that the Baytril just doesn't seem to be agreeing with your chinchilla. I'll go ahead and add the antibiotic below in this video in case you need it. It's called trimethoprim sulfa, and I think it actually has a longer name for the second word, but I don't think I can pronounce it properly. I also suggest in investing in critical care from Oxbow, and the fine grind, the brown or orange gold one, whatever you want to call it, is the one that's recommended for chinchillas because it doesn't have as many vegetables in it. And this saved Scooter. Without this, I don't know what we would have done. This is cheaper online. You can buy it at your vet's office, but it's like 3 times the price. So if you're about to have surgery or something like that with your small animal, I suggest keeping this on stock or buying it ahead of time so you have it. And I might post a video on how you actually use this if anybody is interested. However, I do think there's some already online if you just want to search, you know, how to use critical care by Oxbow. Sorry this video ended up being a little long, but I wanted my experience to maybe help somebody who's going through the same ordeal. This is really stressful time, and I was constantly worried and constantly checking on him and his food intake and weighing him because he did lose quite a bit of weight during this whole process. But he is finally up to weight now and healthy and happy, and that's all that matters. So I hope this video helped you guys, and I will talk to you in my next video. Thanks for watching.